2022. When I first started to do the notes for this podcast, I was thinking specifically about a couple of events that occurred in my life in the recent past. But the truth is I want to branch out from that somewhat. I'll just let you know. That said, I do want to talk today on Who's Hurt on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Tuesday, the 19th of April of 2022. That means tomorrow will be Wednesday, the 20th of April of 2022. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on my Facebook page. That's the Kurt's Religion and Politics page on Facebook, on kurtzreligionandpolitics.locals.com, on Minds, minds.com, on the Kurt's Religion and Politics group primarily there, on Parler, on Gab, on Twitter. Or anywhere else you happen to be catching me today, whether it's watching or listening, you might be doing on one of the podcast sites other than the main podcast site, and that's totally fine by me. Subject for today is Who's Hurt, and I'm going to go ahead and go through my notes again. I've already done this process once, but I'm pretty sure I had my volume off, and I just wanted to go ahead and redo it, figuring, what the heck, take two will be fine. So here we go. So you weren't paying attention when you were behind the wheel. You ran into the side of another car? Obviously, you're not in good shape at this point. But who else was hurt by your actions? I want to relate something that happened to me when this exact scenario occurred. I wasn't the errant driver. I want you to understand that. Not to say that that's never happened. There was at least one time when I messed up somebody's bumper mildly as a bad driver. Rather, I was the one who was crashed into. Besides totaling my car, the person who, quote, did the smashing, end of quote, also caused, you could argue, maybe a little bit more serious, but more or less minor injuries to my son. If any to me, they were extremely small. The point is this. When you do something haphazardly or cause some accident, it's bad enough you get hurt. And by the way, that includes doing some other things like taking recreational drugs, like drinking to excess, like partying, all hours of the night, and various other things. But what you do can cause what amounts to untold time, effort, and potentially ability on others. Okay? See, that young man in the back of my car, he's already climbing, quote, the hill of moderate autism. He's moderately autistic. When you do something like wreck the only car I have to drive, and I have to gimp around in that car until I can get another one going on, you put more stress on him and me that neither of us needs, or at least that's how it seems. The truth of the matter is, the more I thought about that when I read my notes afterwards, I realized God doesn't give people things that they don't need, and I believe that He's in charge, and that therefore probably we do need it as little as I like it. I'm not heartless. I get that you were potentially injured and that your car too was likely totaled. I'm sorry that's the case. In fact, I'm pretty sure the person's car was totaled. That said, you need to understand the harm done to me and, more importantly, my son. And I have to tell you something. If I'd have been injured really badly, I'd still be more worried about my son than myself. Will probably literally take a year or more to get over. And I said in the first take on this, and I'm going to say it again, that doesn't mean that it's going to be really bad for that entire year, but it probably will take a while to get over. The message here? Your care when doing things like driving cars and taking any kind of substance and drinking to excess or whatever, or drinking at all, is extremely important. And that's not just to keep you from harm. There are others who may end up substantially worse off as a result of what you do. Of course, what I'm telling you now is just one example. Another example would be my current financial circumstance has been destroyed basically by the careless acts of another. Not going to get into who at this point, but they've done a pretty fine job of probably putting me in minor peril for the next 5 years or so. As little as I like to admit it, I look back on my more carefree days with a recognition that I could have done somebody else serious harm had it not been for the hand of God in my life. And by the way, I might say I might have been in a much worse situation with this current situation had it not been for His hand in my life as well. What I'm getting at here is simple. Please consider not just how you may do yourself badly, but maybe even more importantly, how others will be affected by your actions. To the lady who ran into me, I'm sorry your life will not be great for a while. How do you feel about what you did to us, though? Not so good? Please, people, take care not to do likewise, to yourself or others. Okay, done with my notes. And again, I don't want to harp on this, but I realize that I said some things that I'm going to try and replicate from the first time that I went through this process. If you are taking drugs right now, if you are heavy into alcohol right now, if you are cutting, if you are contemplating suicide, I want you to realize something. There are very few people on the planet who don't have somebody who loves them and cares about them. And let me just point something out. If you don't, that doesn't mean such things will not happen in your future. I'll be honest with you. I consider myself to be a person that most people don't care about. And in fact, that really even the few that do, they don't care that much about. And I'm not trying to be mean and I'm not trying to be rude. They have their lives and they're living them. And I can't blame them. That's a good thing, I think. I think it's a great thing for them to be doing that. What I'm trying to say, though, is if there's anybody out there who has been in a position where very few people cared about him, it's me. But right now, I have an autistic son to look after, and he cares about me, and I care about him, and I want to make sure that I don't do stupid things where he's concerned, and that he doesn't do stupid things that hurt him, injure him, or whatever. And I'm going to say this again. If you are contemplating suicide, if you're cutting, if you're taking drugs, if you're an alcoholic, and again, I see these people on the street, and I see that all the time, and I realize that some of them are there as a matter of circumstance. Though I will acknowledge, even for the one time that sort of thing kind of happened to me, it was really largely my fault that I found myself where I did. It was on me. I was the one to blame, and there's really no one else I can blame for where I found myself. Okay, yeah, there were other people who contributed to that situation. But the thing about it is, I was involved with those people. And so that was sort of on me too. And that's what I want for you to understand right now. But my point is this. I really want for you to think about who will be hurt if something happens like you run barreling into the side of another vehicle. Now, that person, as little as I like the fact that her car was probably demolished, was probably totaled, just looking at how it looked when she was done, as much as I hope that she was totally uninjured, and I didn't see any sign that she was, she didn't kill anybody. Herself included, of course, but the point is she didn't kill my son and she didn't kill me. And I'm just here to tell you that it would have devastated me if my son had died. Me, and the only reason I matter at all is really my son most these days. Now, I'm not going to tell you there aren't other people who are interested in that, in my survival and so forth, but I think the numbers are pretty darn small. And I'll tell you, like I say, I believe those people are living their lives, and I think things are going well for them as a rule. Some of them are having hard times of it, and I pray for them on a regular and ongoing basis. But my point is to say this. This is what I'm trying to get across to you. Whether you think so or not, when you do something haphazardly or without thinking about it, when you take drugs and get yourself addicted to some horrible substance, you are hurting others. You're hurting others. If nothing else, their heart is hurting from watching you go through what you're doing. And that may sound selfish on their part, but the truth of the matter is they're hurting as much for you as for anybody. This is what I need for you to understand. I really want for you to think about this. I want for you to realize that in the blink of an eye, in a split second, in the time that a car can pass through a light that they weren't supposed to be going through and hit another car that was going through a light that they had every right to go through and were supposed to, according to people looking on, okay, I want you to understand you can end somebody's world. And if you don't do that, you can make it so that, worse yet, they live in a world of desolation and difficulty for some time to come. I want you to understand this. This is really, really important, people. I want you to get it. I want you to know that what I'm doing is not being facetious, and I'm not being hard hard ass, excuse my expression, but I'm not, nothing like that. I'm really trying to help you to understand how important it is for you to be thinking ahead and going, yeah, I really, really don't want to hurt anybody today. And that's whether it's just actions on your part that are supposedly no harm to anyone else, no harm, no foul, because they're not. I'll just tell you that now. Or whether it's some action where you do something that hurts or kills somebody else. Get on that freeway going the wrong way because you're drunk and kill that young lady who was the prom queen yesterday. Okay? These are the kinds of things I'm talking about. Okay, I need to go ahead and wrap up. I hope that you're seriously considering this. I do. This has been the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I am your host. I am Kurt. Today is Tuesday, the 19th of April of 2022. That means tomorrow will be Wednesday, the 20th of April of 2022, that middle of the weekday for those of us that work weekdays. Thank you for everyone who has been here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on my Facebook page. That would be the Kurt's Religion and Politics page there. On locals.com, that would be Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com. On minds.com, minds.com. The Kurt's Religion and Politics group, primarily there is where you are bound to find me. On Parler, on Gab, on Twitter, or anywhere else you may be listening or watching today. Watching me, I know you're just seeing my ugly mug, so you're probably just as well off listening if you want to do it. Today's subject has been Who's Hurt, and tomorrow's subject is kind of related to it. We're going to talk about awareness, and it sort of started out that I was talking about self-awareness, and I began to realize that really awareness in general is every bit as important, and that's what I want to kind of discuss tomorrow. Hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything is going well for you, and hopefully we will see you on Wednesday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This podcast was created on Tuesday, the 19th of April of 2022. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching today's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. Don't forget to come back tomorrow to check out the next one. Remember, on various platforms, primarily Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, and CloudHub, and the audio podcast, you can subscribe to my content. For the audio podcast, you probably want to use Apple, Google, or Spotify. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. In order to find me on those platforms, you can go to the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, and CloudHub. You can also get to my content on Facebook by finding the Kurt's Religion and Politics page there. minds.com, where you will find me at the Kurt's Religion and Politics group, and Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com as well. You can look there. I post my daily video on various social media sites, really only about 3, Parler, Gab, and Twitter at present. I am at KP Schubert on each of them, and you can find me under them, and you can find the videos under me. You should be able to find my podcasts on Google and Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's also on podcasts.kpschubert.com. That's podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. If you're looking for me on various of the podcast sites, you probably want to search Kurt's Religion and Politics, not the Daily Summation. Keep in mind you can subscribe to my content on various places that I put it. All constructive feedback is welcome. You can like, dislike, add a rumble, or give whatever feedback is available on any of the platforms that you can do such things. You can also add a comment on what I put there. Unless you're advertising or doing something that I believe will harm others, I'll leave your comments out there even if I don't agree with or understand them. I will try to let you know I've seen them when possible and may reply if I feel it's reasonable, appropriate, and possible, of course. Thanks again for viewing this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. Don't forget to come back again for tomorrow's as well.